Welcome to the new video series on Amazon Web Service. But before we dive into the different service offerings of Amazon, let us try to understand what Amazon offers and how they have structured their infrastructure. So let me go to Amazon. There is a global infrastructure. So here you can read on the text, but what this basically tells is that they have their infrastructure scattered around 25 regions with 81 availability zones. So what are these? So if you scroll down, we can see that there is a global infrastructure map, and you can see their infrastructure has been scattered all around the globe with their infrastructure divided as specific regions. For example, South, North America, then Africa, and Asia Pacific. And you can see there are some blue and yellow dots appearing. These are the locations, or they call it as regions, where their data structure or data centers are located. So you can see in India, they have this Mumbai region, which was launched in 2016. This is one of the regions available in India. It has 3 availability zones, and if you look at the Hyderabad, it is coming soon, so not yet launched. So when I put the mouse over, the pop-up says that there are 3 availability zones. So what exactly? So these are some of the regions where their infrastructure is available, but instead of putting all the data centers in a single building, they have distributed their infrastructure in a particular region into different availability zones. In layman terms, it means they have put their infrastructure into different buildings, separated by time and space. And why should they do that? Of course, in order to avoid any natural or man-made disasters, because the services offered by Amazon needs to stay up for their clients to use it even if some untoward things happen. So they have divided these data centers as clusters. So we call these as clusters of data centers, or we can call it as availability zones, or AZs for short. And we will see in a moment that they have given some naming convention for all these different regions as well as their data centers. I mean, their data centers. And one thing that we will going to look into when we log in is that Amazon offers a lot of services. So most, if not all, of these services are region scoped. For example, when we talk about the EC2 resource or the EC2 service, a service can be created in a particular region. And of course, you can shift to any other region and you can create those services there too. But then it is been forbidden by CTS explicitly not to change these regions. So we will see which is the region that is being given to us when we log in. So that is the data structure and availability zones for you. And then what exactly are these availability zones? These availability zones are discrete data centers. They will have redundant power, networking, and connectivity between them. As I told you, these are different data centers in different buildings in the Mumbai region, but they will never have any power problem. They have power backup. They will have network connectivity between these data centers, and they have high bandwidth and ultra low latency networking. That means to connect between these two data centers, there won't be any latency in the network. And they are there is a particular naming convention associated with these regions. So let us log into the Amazon console and see it there. So I will use Amazon, and maybe I will just type Amazon console. And this is the link, aws.amazon.com. Clicking on it will lead us to the Amazon console. So you can see that you can log in, or you can create a new AWS account. You don't need to do that. So it may be like log back in, or you can go to the my account and use the AWS management console, whichever link that will lead us to the login page. So in here, what we need to understand is that, so here you can see when I clicked on it, it says sign in as an IAM user. So IAM means identity and access management. But this may not be the console that you will always see. Most probably, I'm going to click on the sign in using the root user email. So when you create your own username and password to log into Amazon, most of the time you will be logging as a root user, where you give the username here, click on next, and then give the password. But then once you logged in as a root user, you should never use that root user account to create the resources, because it is a security problem. Because the root user, just like we have the root user in Linux environments, have the full privilege of doing anything with Amazon. So if somebody gets access to the root user, we are in trouble. What trouble? We will have some big financial loss. So what Amazon proposes is you log in with the root user and then create another user with less privileges. I mean, if you once we log in, you can see there are hundreds of services offered by Amazon. But then the users need not be using all the services, only some specific services. In our case, we will be only going to go through some specific services as specified in the curriculum. So in order to avoid some problem with the security, Amazon tells us to first log in with the root user and then create another user with less privileges and use that user to log in. And that's what we are going to do here. So instead of using the root user, we will be using the IAM user. And then you have already received the email from CTS, what exactly is the username and password. So the first you can see here is that there is an account ID. So not only the root user, the user that you are going to create, any user will have an account ID. And you can see it here in the mail. You can see there is an account ID. If you can directly click on it if you want. Okay, and this will lead you to the correct sign in page. Or what I'm going to do here, I'm just copy paste. This is the ID, and this ID is the same because they have created a lot of users with a different username with the same password. That's all. So I will copy paste this 12-digit account ID and then give on next. And then I will take the user name. I am told to use a username of a particular user who has left CTS. So I will use this user ID and give that user ID here. Sorry, I have this user ID, and then the password. Password is the same for everybody. So please make sure that you don't step into others' shoes and use your own user ID and the password. So then I will give the password here and then login. We will be redirected to the Amazon console. Maybe I will save this in order to avoid some typing into my, if it shows up again. Okay, so this is the Amazon console. Here you can see that yeah, save it for the time being. So you can see that we have been given a specific region which happens to be Ohio in our case. And we already know that we shouldn't change the region, but you can do that if you want. But what I told you, all the services that we are going to use, if you click on this services drop down, you can see all the services offered by Amazon. And it is humanly impossible to learn all these services. We only need to know what we need to know. So these services will be specific to each region, or these services are can be created in a particular region. And of course, you can create the same service in other regions too, but try to create these services into a particular region. And you can see, if you click on the drop down, there is a naming convention followed. For each region, they have specified a name. For our region, the Ohio US East 2, and you can see the Mumbai location is coming under the Asia Pacific with the AP South 1. So in here, in Ohio or in Mumbai, we already know that there are three availability zones. So they have given the naming convention as, for example, AB South 1A, 1B, 1C, for each of the discrete data centers. I mean, these availability zones available. And for the Ohio region, which we are right now, they will have some availability zones of US East 2A, 2B, 2C, something like that. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And now, just an introduction to all these things. So one more thing is that all the services offered by Amazon may not be available for you. So if you go back to the global infrastructure, and you can see one of the links, what are the regional services available? So it may be that all the services may not be available in a particular region. Of course, it may take some time to fetch the services available. You can see that some of the services may be available only in these regions. And you can see what are the services offered in the US East, the region which we are in right now. So you can see a lot of services are already there. So I think we are good. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So sometimes, suppose you go to the Mumbai region and you want to use a particular service, and you may be wondering why the service is not there. If that is the case, you need to go to this AWS region service and find out whether that particular service is offered for that particular region. I mean, this is just the basic of what we are going to do in Amazon. Going forward from the next video session onwards, we will start with EC2, S3, DynamoDB, and all the stuff. So see you there.